Hello, and welcome to On the Pitch, a Missouri soccer podcast and your home for all things Missouri soccer. I'm your host, Bridger Pretz, and I'll be bringing you the latest news, match analysis, interviews, and stories from every corner of the Missouri and American soccer scene. Whether you're up in St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbia, or anywhere in the Show Me State, this is where Missouri soccer lives. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of the On the Pitch podcast with my guest, Conor Cable. Conor Cable is the assistant coach at LSU women's soccer team. Conor, good to see you, man.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so a lot of people that don't know you, or you don't even know my story, so we actually played together, and we actually played the same position in college at William Woods University. But you're not from America, if people haven't noticed your accent already just from that little hello there. Tell us where you're from and tell us a little bit about your playing career, just like a little snippet, and then we'll go more in depth. This episode is brought to you by crooksimage.com. Jeremy is a Kansas City-based photographer who does just absolute amazing work, right? He can do anything, whether it comes to your senior photos, engagement photos, or even if you want to just take photos of your little dog. I mean, right here, this is my dog, Quinn. She's absolutely amazing. Look how beautiful he made her look. He does an absolute amazing job. Again, he actually did our wedding not too long ago, and I can't tell you how amazing those photos are. He's right here in Kansas City. He's willing to meet you anywhere in this area. Again, that is crooksimage.com. Local guy who's doing local work, and it's just absolutely amazing. Again, crooksimage.com. Now, let's get back to the pod.
Yeah, I think the depth will bring itself on there, but I'm from lived in a small town called Spalding in England. It's about 2 hours north of London. My parents were split, so I kind of spent half my life growing up in London around my family there, and then most of the time in Spalding and in the countryside. I live up there. My mum, my brother, stepdad, and then my grandparents live down the road, and then everybody else is in London. I started playing soccer, footy, whatever we're going to call it on here.
Football.
Yeah, right. Football, English football. Just kicking about in the garden, and my next door neighbour was the assistant coach for a local little Sunday league team. I'm playing in the garden, jumpers for goalposts, and he's like, "Oh, do you want to come to training?" I was like, "Yeah, okay." So I went to training, enjoyed it. I went in goal. I'm about one of the unique people that didn't try going as a field player. I went straight to the goalkeeper stuff, and it's really bizarre now I think of it, is we actually had a goalkeeper coach. He was like the goalkeeper coach for the Saturday league team, for the men's team, and he used to help out the kids. So I had no idea what I was doing. So I had to learn from like another 9-year-old, 10-year-old. And I was like, oh, okay. And kind of, it was turn up to training every Wednesday. You paid £2 so that we could, help turn the lights on from the main stadium whilst the first team were training. And kind of my first year, it was not like a lot of stuff here where everyone gets to play. I traveled around. My granddad took me to a lot of the games and traveled around, and I never really played. Like the goalkeeper there had been there for 2 years or so, since he was like 8 or whatever. So he played in goal. So I was traveling a lot and just kind of standing on the bench. And I was like, oh, okay. And then towards the end of my first season, I was like, well, I'm never going to play in goal. So I'm going to go on the field. And I got some field time. I remember scoring a goal, and I was so happy. And we got to our last game of the season. We were playing like top of the league. And obviously started on the bench, but I didn't take my gloves with me because it's like, well, I'm not a goalkeeper anymore. So I'm not going in goal. And we went 1-0 up, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. And the next 5 minutes, they scored like 4 goals. And it was like 1-0 after like 5 minutes and 4-1 down after 10. So crazily, fickle sport. They pulled the kid off, and they go, Conor, you're going in goal. So I'm like, I ain't got any gloves. They're like, oh, just take Harry's gloves. So the poor kid gets subbed off after 10 minutes, has to give me his gloves to play the first half. And I played really well. And then that kind of pushed into the next year. As the lad Harry wasn't playing as much, I got the opportunity to play. And, I'm 11 years old playing, and there was like an open trial. It was like in the newspaper, like, come down to Spalding's football stadium, like £40. There's going to be 20 scouts there, all of this, get the chance to be in front of these scouts. So I went down to it, and I come home from school one day and had a letter from Nottingham Forest, and that's for their development thing, which for a lot of people now is like the foundation. So I got a chance to go across there, and we drive an hour to Grantham, which was the town between us and Nottingham, every Monday, and play for the development. So really, we didn't really play games with them. Maybe once or twice a year would have a game up at the academy, but it was just a lot of training with like Forest coaches in the community. And we went out on a tour to Holland and got to do a cool tour in Holland. So I was, this is great. I had a great little team there. And then my next year, I was in high school, secondary school at the time. We were booked up, we're going to go to Holland, all of this. And I use this a lot now in coaching of how opportunity comes about. But we was doing our normal thing, and I was scheduled to play for my local team, Hull Beach Tigers, at the weekend. And we got a phone call, hey, this is so and so from Nottingham Forest Academy. We need you to come up and play a game this weekend. Okay. It's like, yeah, our goalkeeper, his grandfather passed away. It's like, so he's got to deal with family stuff, go to the funeral and that. So come and play. And I can't remember who we played. I think we played like MK Dons or something.
How old were you when this was going on?
I just turned, it was like 2 days after my 14th birthday.
Okay.
So I just turned 14, and so I went up, played, did well. And after the game, they're like, all right, Conor, come into the office. They're like, you did well, liked it. You've been with the system for a while, so I'm going to put you 6-week trial. So, okay, sounds good. So now we're on trial there. And, now I've gone from training once a week with the development and training once a week with my Sunday league team to now I'm going across to Nottingham, hour and a half drive, hour and 45-minute drive, 3 times a week. And it was a culture shock, really. Like, if I reflect back on it fairly now, I was in way above my head. And, but it was a good learning curve, and I had the opportunity to be with some great players there and have great opportunities. And through the 6 weeks, and then at the end of the 6 weeks, we went and played away at Leeds, and we drew 3-3. And I was like, it wasn't the best game. It's a tough one. Like, I can't imagine a lot's coming from this. And the next night, I got a phone call from the head of recruitment. He's like, oh, is that Conor? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, just wanted to tell you, lad, like, we was really happy with how you did. Like, your 6 weeks has been great. So we're going to keep you on for the rest of the season. The contracts kind of went every 2 years. So you go 10 to 12, 12 to 14, 14 to 16. So I was kind of on the back end of that 12 to 14 age group one. So I was like, oh, wicked. Like, that's real good. So now that means I get like, I turn up to training, they give you all your kit, like your travel tracksuit and all of that. So I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be class how they give me it. I turned up to training, they handed me a black bin bag with all my Forest stuff in. I was like, all right, let's go in the medical room. You got to do all your tests and that. Oh, okay.
Wait, even for like the academy stuff, they make you do all like the physical. Like, well, I mean, I guess it's like just like a physical, like a high school kid would do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we went in and did all that. Height, weight, blood pressure, lungs, all of that, because they want to, like, you're getting at the time of football where it would have been prior to Fabrice Mwamba when he collapsed for Bolton.
Oh yeah. So he played for Bolton, right?
Yeah. So you're kind of getting in that period of time where they're starting to take health a bit more seriously instead of just like not knocking a little hammer on your knee and checking your nerves and reactions. So I do that, and it was an okay time, and it was, I had to bargain with them because I was like, oh, we've already paid for the trip to Holland with the development. Like, is that something we can do? They're like, yeah. Like, some of the staff from the academy is going to be there. So you're going to go out to Holland, do that, but you're going to get off the bus, and then you're going to have to go straight across to Warwick University in Birmingham because we'll be playing in the Night Premier Cup. So at the time, the Night Premier Cup, I don't know if they do it anymore, consisted of 20 countries, and the winner of each country all got put into an international tournament played at Man United. So it was like the winner of ours in the end, we lost to them eventually, was Newcastle. And I played that tournament. It wasn't great for me. It was a good experience, but I don't think I had a great time. I don't think I had a stinkers, but it wasn't a great time. It was actually come a full circle. One of the guys I played with A few years back, I don't know if you remember, there was a lad from Xavier University that died after graduation. He drowned in a lake.
Oh wow.
He was on my team there at Forest. So we had like my coach for that team was Steve Hodge, who infamously was the guy that popped the ball up for England when Maradona scored the hand of God goal. And then he got Maradona's shirt at the end of the game as well. So he's a real famous guy in the football community. So we got to play that, great experience. And then probably a week after that, I was out at training and they called my stepdad into the office and told him I was getting released. Like, they didn't tell me. So I'm driving home. My stepdad's like, "Oh, how was training today?" Oh, yeah, it's real good. Blah blah blah. Like, excited for this. He's like, "Well, they're releasing you." I was like, "Oh, okay, cheers." So
great.
But it's like, it's been the epitome of my life. Is, I got released, but they were like, "You can carry on training here," because we was meant to have a game on City Ground, like last game of the year. All the teams got to play at City Ground, so there was like, you could play in that because we understand the experience and all of that stuff. So got to play against Sheffield Wednesday at City Ground, and I opened my search to get another club, and prior to this, like whilst I was still in the Forest stuff, I had the opportunity to like go play like a trialist game at Norwich. So I didn't get anything from it, but they were like, we're going to keep you on the books in case of anything in the future. Like, we're going to keep you in our thoughts, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. So 14, we reach out to contact we had at Norwich. It's like, this has just happened, like since his last year I was at Forest, and this has happened, blah blah blah. So Norwich bring me in, and they're like, this is late in the season, like summer starts whatever mid-May, and this is like late April. So in that time, I got 3 games and like 2 weeks of training to prove myself. I literally had like a 2-week trial. So I went in without knowing anyone, and I split the game with the lad at the time against Aston Villa. And then the next game, we'll go and play East Anglia Derby, go and play against Ipswich, who had got the best of us for a few years, and went away to Ipswich and won 4-2. So I was like, oh, this is great. And then the last game of the season, we went down to Chelsea, and we turned Chelsea over at their place 4-1. And then the next day...
And you're at Norwich while you're doing all this?
Yeah, so this was when I was in my 2-week trial, like at the end of the under-14 season. And I kind of, I remember it very vividly as I was going on vacation that week after the game. And I remember I was in chemistry class, and we used to mess around in chemistry, man. We had like, my group was a load of slackers. I don't condone it, obviously, but I remember sitting there on my phone in class and then getting a text like, "Oh, Norwich are going to sign you for 2 years." I was like, "Oh, this is excellent, man." Like, rah, rah, rah. And so went through the summer, went to Norwich. And it is still to this day the hardest preseason I've ever done. We had a guy named Gary Holt come in, who was Scotland international, played for Forest, Hibs, played for Norwich, played in the Premier League, all of this stuff. And his nickname was either the Iron Lung or Third Lung, because he was just like...
Could run for days.
Absolutely. Like, he was a military guy that had broken into football. It was just the most miserable preseason ever. And I remember getting to our first game of the season, and we played Tottenham at home. We lost 5-0. And we were just beat up. We were like, oh my God. And I remember the ref gave a penalty against us. And for me, it wasn't like, players come a little bit behind, but he's like, swiped the ball away, then took the player, refs give a penalty. And I remember having the ball in my hand and throwing it on the ground. The ref gave me a yellow card. And as I walked off, this is my first official game for them, the academy manager walked up to me. I was like, "Oh, sorry about that." And he's like, "Nope." He's like, "You ever do anything like that again, you're out of it." He's like, "We'll go to the office, we'll tear your contract up, and that's it."
Jeez.
I was like, "Oh, okay." So, but that was like the kickstart from there. We had this young team at Norwich that after that we went on a tear, and we kind of just won everything. And we weren't in like a league structure, so Arsenal said, "Oh, do you want to come down and play us?" Thursday night game under the lights at Arsenal. I was like, "Yeah, okay." And we went down, and it was one of the wildest games I've ever been a part of. We won 8-4.
Whoa.
But what Arsenal used to do is like they have big time players, like their Nike athletes, Adidas athletes. They would play up in the 16s or the youth team. So then we kind of embarrassed them, in our opinion, on their own turf. So then they call us again, but in 2 weeks, do you want to come down again? Yeah, all right then. So we go down and they had like Chubarak Pom playing and like all their big names.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. And we lost 4-3.
Oh, you're so competitive.
Yeah, and I remember for some reason we thought, oh, we know how to get there, and we didn't take the GPS. And I turned up literally in my school uniform still 10 minutes before kickoff. And went into that game like I'd caught maybe 2 volleys prior to the game. Like the physio had to come in the changing room to calm me down because I was like panic attack because I was late. I couldn't do anything. I was like, they're gonna hate me for it. And I played really well. I made some really big saves and all of that. And it was a really good game. And then we finished out that 15 season. And when you go into your 16 season, it's like the most anxious season you can have because that's when you're starting to get your scholarship decisions. And if you
that's where money starts getting involved, right?
Yeah. So everyone's like, right, you don't know till Christmas about scholarships. Now you have the better players as such. So on my team was Colton Morris, who was Luton's captain in the Premier League. Sorry.
No, you're all good. So usually how it goes, like when you say scholarship, for a lot of the kids that like don't, they think college when you hear scholarship. So what exactly does that work? You don't get any of that money, right? Or do they just pay your fees? Like, how does that work?
No, we get paid. So you know, you go into that season, your scholarship is basically like an apprenticeship. You go in, you get money from the club. So you go into that season and you had like the better players offered their scholarship. The best players, they'd be like, we're going to give you a 2-1. So you get your 2-year scholarship, then you got a guaranteed 1-year pro after. The others, they say you got 2-year scholarship. Then for the rest of us, it was like, we'll have a meeting midway through the season, like a progress meeting. And you're going to get given a 60, 50 or 40, and that's your percent chance.
Okay.
So I went into my meeting and I was at, they gave me 60%. I was like, okay, great. And
it's not zero.
Exactly.
That's not zero.
This time I was, tried using my family heritage. I'd reached out to Ireland. So Ireland were going to be coming to watch. And then my academy manager stopped it. He said, I want you to focus on your club stuff, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then we were playing away at Crystal Palace and we'd got into a rhythm. We started the season really bad and then we got into a rhythm. And we're playing away at Crystal Palace. And it was about one of the only howlers I had forever. Is a ball come across and I dealt with one like zipped in, bouncing just in front. A minute before I scooped it up, all good. I went to do it again and I kind of took my eye off of it and it went straight through my leg. So I tried to recover. And as I dived down, someone like come on top of my hand and I fell awkwardly on my elbow and done the ligaments in my elbow. And I was like, no worries. And I went to get up and I realized I couldn't really move my arms. So I kind of freaked out. So they come on and they gave me a bit of gas and air and that for the pain. And they're like, because we give you that, we can't have you walk off because you might be like daisy head, like a bit dazed. So they had to give me get me on the stretcher and I got stretchered off and into the ambulance. And apparently during that time, my parents were there and the ref ended up chatting to my parents whilst this is all happening.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't realize like you were here at this moment, you're the keeper's parents. They're like, yeah. They're like, well, I don't know if he's going to be happy about it, but when international scouts come to watch, because it's behind closed doors, they have to, give stuff to us to say that they're here to watch so-and-so. There's like, both England and Ireland sat here watching him first game. So I'm in the ambulance. My mum told me, I'm like, oh, jeez, man. So got through that, it was a month and a bit. I played one game and then we went off to, it was the first year they did the Premier League tournament. So we went into that. We got drawn at the time. Our group was Newcastle, Liverpool and Wigan. So we won our group, beat Wigan 4-0, beat Liverpool 1-0, beat Newcastle 2-1. We got Chelsea in the semi-finals. We beat them 1-0. We got absolutely battered, beat them 1-0. Their keeper had a howler, so it was ironic.
Win's a win. Win's a win.
Exactly. And then we played the final. So we played 5 games in 2 days.
Oh my gosh.
We played the final and it was really bizarre because there was, I think, 14 other academies all had to stay behind and watch the game. All their teams made them watch.
Yeah.
And it was us against Everton, and Duncan Ferguson was the Everton manager.
Yeah.
And we got a penalty. Colton Morris scored it, and we won 1-0 and won the Premier League thing. And they did the write up in the match program for Norwich, and me and one of the other lads were given like the 2 standout players for the tournament. We had 5 games and had 4 clean sheets, conceded 1 goal. So,
Wow.
you know, as a standout. And then, you know, in that time, got to my scholarship decision. They said, you know, because of your injury and that, we're going to delay it. We want you to play up. We want to get you a game with the youth team. We want to, like, you know, get some extra reps and all of this. Yeah, fair enough. It makes sense. So then I made my youth team debut against Norwich, or not against Norwich, against Chelsea. Beat them 2-1. And then about 2 weeks later, I'm going to training in like school holidays. And they text me. I'm only going for like a day for training. They're like, "Oh, you're playing. You're going to be with the reserves today." Before it was under 21s. It's like, "Oh, all right." It's like, "And you got to travel with them tomorrow. You'll be starting against West Brom." Like,
oh, okay. So like reserves, like big time guys, like the backups from first team.
Yeah. So we went and played that, and I think when I look back on it, there was some good names for West Brom. I want to say that was like Saya Berahino played against me. Martin Fulop was the goalkeeper. Like there was some bigger names in there.
Jeez.
So we played that, and then we're on the bus on the way back. We lost 3-1. The academy manager chatting to me. He's like, "Oh, so how do you think it went today?" I was like, "You know, like a bit nervous, but it was all right." He's like, "I thought you did really well." He's like, "You know, you're a 16-year-old playing in this game. Like, it's a big step up. Blah blah blah. All of this." And at this time, I'm consistently with the first team, and you know, Premier League first team. I'm like, I'm 16, training with you every day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
All the signs look good. You've got like England internationals telling me like, yeah, you'll be good. We'll be with you next season. All of this, and I went into my scholarship meeting, and they go, "Yeah, we're not going to bring you back." And I was like, "What?" And we never really got given a full reason. And you know, you're not obliged in that position to be like, "Well, why? I need a reason." Like, it's got to be something, because you know it's football. And it was, again, as I said, story of my life. There's like, we're not going to bring you back, but you can stay and train with us and use us to help you get another club as well. So it's like, it's so bizarre, because everybody else who got released, it's like you got released and you were done. So it's like, you're released, but you can stay. So
it's like you're good, but not good enough. Like you're like right there on the cusp of being good enough.
So I had a thing, and it's more of an off-record thing, but I don't think me and the first team coach didn't get on. The goalkeeper coach, the goalkeeper coach that initially brought me up and training with the first team wasn't there anymore. It was a newer guy, and we'd had a few clashes about stuff. So then I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was meant to be staying up overnight and going to train again the next day. And they were like, "Obviously, you're upset. You can go home if you want. Don't worry about training tomorrow." And I'm like, naive 16-year-old, and I'm like, "Oh no, I'll still stay up and train tomorrow." So I'm like, I look back on it when I talk about it, and people are like, "Oh, find something where you dealt with adversity." And I'm like, that's probably mine, because I had to stay up. I stayed up overnight on my own, like obviously upset, and then stayed with a host family on my own. Went to training the next day, and I walked out to train. There's like, "No, you need to go with the first team today," and they were playing FA Cup against Leicester on Saturday. There was like John Ruddy at the time was first team keeper, and he was
I loved watching him in the Premier League, man. I thought he was great. He was class.
So he was nursing a groin injury. So was the youth team keeper. So the only other one at the time was Declan Rudd, and he actually might not. He might have been injured as well. I think it was Jed Steer was the other goalkeeper.
Oh, I know him. I know Steer.
So he's starting against Leicester. They're like, "We need you to go down the other end as like the shadow team, and you're going to act as if you're Kasper Schmeichel." And I was like, "All right."
Okay, so easy enough. Like,
how am I going to do that? And obviously he sent the ball absolute miles. There's like, we're doing like defending his goal kicks. There's like, so go up there, and whatever distance you think you need, like, so that you can land the ball on the edge of the opposite 18-yard box. He's like, that's what you're doing. So I spent the whole morning training with the first team and all of this, and then I say to them, and they're like, "Oh, are you going to be with us next year?" I'm like, "No, I got released." What? Really? All of this? So then, you know, started going around every club, going on trial here, there, and everywhere, and eventually I went down to Bristol City. had a good time there. And then I was meant to be going out to Sunderland, and it become a small world because the assistant I work with here worked for Sunderland. So I would have met him along my journey there. And the coach at Sunderland goes, "We want you to come up. We want a goalkeeper, but full transparency, you might not play your first year." It's like, "We've got a really good goalkeeper, and he's probably going to go with the first team. But just full disclosure on that, and it was Jordan Pickford." So it's like, "Oh, okay, no problem." So I was meant to go up to there and then go to Derby as well. And we'd been advised by an agent that whoever offers a scholarship first is take that. So got my train tickets and that to go to Sunderland, and then Bristol City calls and goes, "We want to offer you a scholarship." Oh, okay. So I cancelled on everything else. Like, it's one of my regrets in my footballing career.
You wish you would have gone and
I wish I'd tried them out at Sunderland and try out at Derby as well and all of that. And then I went to Bristol, and I just had a terrible time. Terrible time there. Didn't get on with them. It was, they bought another goalkeeper in from America, which was like, okay, fair enough, 2 of us. Then they bought an Albanian boy in, and it was a disaster. And it got to the end. I had a bad living situation. I wasn't liking training. Like, I went head to head with the coach there, and it was just like, had a bad time. And I said to them, I was like, "Look, I don't know if I can leave, how it works." I was like, "But I want to go play elsewhere." And Colchester called when they did that. They kind of put you on a market, like they market you around. We've got a keeper that's wanting to, go out on loan, maybe have his contract picked up.
Yeah.
So Colchester called. I went over to Colchester, had a great time there, closer to my family. Got to play with the first team a whole lot, reserve team, all of this. And then done my ankle, stretched it off again against Brentford. Never really picked up from there. They didn't take over my contract. So I was like, all right, no problem. Went back to Bristol City. And at that point, the writing was on the wall for me. The youth keepers coming up. One of them, I think, is the first team keeper for Hibs now. And the other one is the first team keeper at Bristol City now.
So how old are you now in this job?
I'm now, I'm in my scholarship. I'm being paid by Bristol into my second year.
Also, how much were you getting paid? So when you hear scholarship, how much is that? Is that weekly? Is it monthly? Like, how much is that?
We got monthly. We pretty much would have like train tickets, gas, bus paid for, housing was paid for, food was paid for, and then I'm talking like I probably got $500 a month to play. But when you're 16 and you've never really got the chance to have money before, it's like, whoa, and then you spend it all on your first week, and then you've got nothing for the rest of the week. Like, you're not going out. Like, some of the boys, I don't know, they go out and buy a Louis Vuitton wash bag. You're like, what are you doing, man? Like, I remember they took me out and they said, "Oh, we've got to get you better clothes, all of this." Okay, and I bought a pair of shoes and some jeans, and I was like, I ain't got no money left, man. What am I doing?
So now you've started to realize that the writing's on the wall. Maybe the professional realm isn't gonna happen for you. You said with an academy guy coming up. So what was the overall, like, what made you want to choose to come to the States and try college out?
Yeah, so during it all, so the training ground that was at, which is now the academy full time at Bristol, is connected to like a sporting college in the UK, 16 to 19, and that's where the Bristol women's team used to train out of, and they had elite sports throughout all of it. So the landlord, the guy I lived with, he was the head footy coach there. So I played games for them on the weekend in the men's league for their men's team, and then trained all week with Bristol, and. I lived with 2 rugby players and 2 golfers, and they were like, "Oh, we had a guy from University of South Florida come and talk to us today." So they're the ones telling me about America, and then the guy I lived with, Simon, he goes, "Oh, we've got an agency coming in to talk to our girls. We're going to invite the academy across." So went across and listened to this guy do his spiel. Like, we're in there with the under 18s women's team, us, and we're in there. And he's telling me about it. I'm like, it sounds really good. So I got his card after, and I give him a phone call. He's like, "I'm interested in it. I want to learn some more." So that Christmas, this was just before Christmas. At Christmas, he come across to our town, and we met him for coffee and sat with him for about 3 hours. And he kind of sold the idea of America. Now, he was like independent agency, cost a load of money. But what we found out was, you know, as a player in the UK, we was part of the LFE and the PFA. So we had access, like player access resources after playing, that a company called Pass for Soccer had the rights to all the academy players first if they wanted to go to America. So I explored it with them and found out I could get that cheaper, all of this. So I was like, do you know what? I've got a choice. I can either go to America and pick it up, or I can, you know, go to the exit trials that they do up at St. George's Park. I was like, roll the dice. You know, I might get a League One team and be a League One legend for 15 years, or I might get a contract somewhere. It takes 1 year of my life away, and then I never amount to anything.
Yeah, you fizzle out or get forgotten about.
Yeah, so I was like, I'll go. Let's give it a go. So I marketed myself for America, got all the stuff done, and you know, there was like, right, you've got your video, and Bristol helped me a lot. They knew. I'd said to them, we hadn't had our meeting, but I'd said to them, I was like, look, I'm going to look going to America. I know you're not going to give me a pro, so I'm not worried about that. I was like, but what I'm asking is, can you help me along the way, kind of thing. So they helped me with all my videos and what I had to do and get stuff put together. And it was like, oh, okay, we've got to pay £500 to the agency. And as soon as the money hit their bank, video went out, and I woke up the next day and started getting interest. And the funny story is, as you're wearing a hoodie, is the only school that I really knew was Notre Dame, because it's fighting Irish. So I was like, I want to go to Notre Dame. I had no idea about D1, D2, D3, NAIA, and none of it. So I woke up and I had an email that said like Notre Dame, and I was like, oh, hey, yes. And there's Notre Dame College in Ohio.
I was going to say there's two of them.
Yeah, right down the road from, it's actually where my wife went to school. So I was like, oh, no, thanks, but no thanks. So I went through my D1 conversations, and hindsight speaking is I should definitely have gone there because of what I would have been paying, knowing like how scholarship stuff work. I was paying like as a freshman next to nothing. I was like, you know, Mason was actually in the UK at the time, and Mason called me. I think he was in the UK visiting Jesse Bowers, and he called me. He's like, yeah, can you get a train to London? I was like, no, I can't.
So for the people who don't know who Mason is, so Nathan Mason was the head coach at William Woods University, where you and I both went. So
so he's over, and then at this time I'm out on loan at Cardiff City. So I'm like, no, I'm at Cardiff. It's a 3.5 hour train ride. He's like, what if I meet you so and so on this day? I was like, I've got a game. I can't. Like, so at this time, my agency kind of went radio silent. I'm like, I've got offers on the table from Florida Atlantic, from VCU, from Coastal Carolina, from UNLV. And I'm like, well, some of them are in desirable places. And so Mason's selling me on that we've got an 8-to-1 ratio of girls to guys. And we've got
I wondered if he used that, man. I knew we got
a bowling alley in our town as well. And that's what he was selling me on. I was like, oh, okay.
We got a Walmart.
Yeah, right. But, you know, obviously from the financial perspective, he gave me the offer as best suited for my family. And I weren't sure what to do. And Mason was like, I need to know in 2 days. And in 2 days, I managed to stretch for 3 weeks. And in the end, my agency wasn't replying. I was like, you know what? He texted me. He said, look, take it or leave it. I can't wait anymore. So I took it. And within an hour of taking it, my agency calls me and they go, oh, yeah, like, congratulations, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I was like, yeah, you haven't answered my calls. And he goes, yeah, I wanted to see what you was going to do. And I was like, mate, we paid you.
That's not how this works.
Like, yeah, right. So you know, then I'm dead set. All right, we're going to William Woods and this, that, and the other. And I remember turning up on campus. Neeson, who was the grad assistant at the time, picked me up. I was the first on the land, and then Matty was the second. So Matty was going to be my roommate, and we were the first two to land. And then we had to go to Ryan Howell's house because I think Harrison was staying there because he had landed earlier, like day before. So we went to pick Harrison up. Then we went from like the airport to like Chesterfield. Then we had to go back to the airport because I think was picking Rodrigo up. And then
so all of you guys rode together?
Four of us in Nice, and he had like a Chevy Malibu or Impala or something with all of our bags. Squeezed in there, drove to campus. I remember I turned up to campus and it was grey, like misty rain. It was like 110 degrees. I remember it was before they fixed the roads on campus, so all the roads were crappy, all the grass was overgrown, and I was like, what have
What
I
did you
done?
sign? Yeah. So
Terrible.
you didn't have a chance. So you didn't see the campus at all or anything like that before you
I
just literally
looked
signed a
at,
piece of paper and you were there.
I signed the paper, I searched what it looked like online and did what I could. And I think they still use the same pictures on the Woods website as they did in 2014. So, I took the leap of faith, went and did it. And, it was good.
Yeah.
It was, I've never regretted my decision. I had the opportunity, to play for 4 years and the opportunity to be a captain for 3.5 years, and
Hmm.
enjoyed my whole experience there. Right,
Yeah.
so that got me to there, and obviously my sophomore year, you come in and you got the opportunity to play because I decided to hurt my knee, but
Yeah.
you
Thanks,
know
by the way.
yeah, I don't think we've ever spoke about it, but I remember I hurt my knee in the challenge and then played on, and I come and caught a cross and I planted to sprint out.
Yeah. You
And
just
my
went
knee,
down. You like
my knee
screamed.
went, and I went down. And I remember Chelsea coming onto the field, and I see you warming up on the side, and I was like, nah, he's not playing. I was like, we won't hear the end of it, so he's not playing. So I played out that game against Hannibal, and then that was it for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
That was that done, and it took a while to recover from that because I still acted like normal William Woods people as we were, but
Hmm.
didn't get to exercise like we should. So I put a load of weight on and
Hmm.
struggled for a while. And then, it took all the spring and through the summer. In the summer, I really worked hard to lose a lot of weight and get better. And I think at the time, it was when Jack was coming in.
Hmm.
Um, and then
Which Jack
obviously
Roberts, he's now at SLU.
he's
Where's
at
he at?
SLU, yeah.
He's at
He's at
SLU now
SLU.
as one
So
of the assistants. I need to get him on there too. He
yeah,
get a good
I
one.
speak to him here and there. So if
Hmm.
if you need it, let me know. But
Yeah.
I remember he come in, and I always felt like he didn't like me and all of this stuff. And
I
I
don't.
went.
I think everybody had that feeling though. Like everybody thought that he hated everybody. I think he was
I
just so
went.
serious. He was very serious. He
Yeah,
took it. Yeah. I don't
and
think he liked. I don't think he liked the atmosphere of like NAI.
no,
I think to
it
him
made
it was.
sense. It
Yeah.
made sense when he went back to Missouri State, definitely.
Hmm.
Went through that season, and I think I got to the point where I started getting complacent, like where I was like, oh, my spot's always safe, and
Hmm.
I started making mistakes, and it was kind of the kick up the arse that I needed because I got dropped. I felt for a while that I was pretty much untouchable,
Hmm.
and I think Jack was a big part of making that change, honestly. And
Yeah.
as much as I disagreed with it at the time, I'm thankful for it because it helped. And then once I got the opportunity to get back in net, it never went away again until I graduated. So
Yeah.
I had that, and then went into senior year and was like, well, this is it, last dance kind of thing. And during pre-season, found out I had a stress fracture in my leg, and was like, oh well, whatever. I was like, if it breaks, it breaks. I'm done at the end of
Hmm.
the year regardless. So
Yeah.
let's just play this one out. So non-conference, I was wrapped in cotton wool a little bit. I spent 3.5 months walking around in a walking boot. So
Hmm.
woke up the training, walking boot, take it off, train, walking boot back on, and it got pretty boring of having that. But we had a great year, and went 10-0-1 in conference.
First
Coach,
ever conference title for William Woods in the AMC, right? First
yeah,
official one. Yeah.
first one, so no one can ever take that away from us, kind of thing. No one's worried, and I say this a lot now. Is no one worries about the team that does it second or third or fourth. It's like
Hmm.
we were the first, we were the pioneers, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
we went through that, did that. Went out to nationals, lost to Lindsey Wilson. You couldn't have got a much harder draw in the
Yeah.
NAIA world, but. Then I got invited out to the USL Combine in California, and I went out to there, and I got no looks really. And during that time, I applied for a job with GPS before all of their scandal happened, and
Hmm.
that's what moved me out to North Carolina, to the East Coast, and started coaching there, coaching kids. And really, it was just a gap year in my life to figure stuff out and see what we could do. And you got paid peanuts, but we lived on the beach, and it was a great time.
Yeah.
And then as I realized I didn't want to be there anymore, I actually got my grad assistant job because the guy I worked with Scottish lad, Jack. He was like, "Oh, I'm applying for jobs." My mate, who I played USL2 with, is the assistant there. And I had the working printer at my house. So he's like, "Can you print off the applications? I can fill it out." It's like, "Yeah, no problem." So I printed it for him. He filled it out. And then I was like, "Oh, I want to do the same thing." So I applied for a load of places as well. And that was one of them.
So
And,
how did you find those jobs? So like when you were applying for places, like were you just looking for grad assistant programs, or were you looking just for assistant jobs? Like how did that all go about?
So at that time, student visas, I was like, I'm going to go back to school and get my master's. So I could only really go the avenue of graduate assistant. I got offered a job on the women's side, actually, University of Nebraska Kearney, D2 school. I wasn't about it. And then Lake Erie come about, and I'd applied at Lake Erie and McKendree. And went through the process with both of them, and I was in Raleigh for a tournament with my team on the Saturday, and I was actually my friend Jack, and we had another Jack English fella, classic names, English Jack and Scottish Jack. That's how we knew
Jack
him.
John.
Yeah. So they were coming up to we were going out because I had a hotel, so we was going up to celebrate their birthday, and my head coach at Lake Erie, Louis, he called me and he's like, "What are you doing?" So I'm telling him blah blah blah. He's like, "Well, you can continue them drinks if you want as a celebration, because we want to offer you the position here." I was like, "Oh, cracking! That's great!" Blah blah blah. And then the next day, I'm driving back from Raleigh, and then McKendree calls me and goes, we want to offer you the position at McKendree." I literally accepted one yesterday. Like literally, it's 1 day out difference. So then I'm like, all right, so it's May. I've got till July in North Carolina, and then I'm heading out to Ohio, and I'm in my car that I got for free, and I managed to drag it to Ohio and started coaching there. And my first year there, it's my first time coaching college, what to expect, and we had players on the team that are the same age as me, so I'm like, oh, okay, I'm the young gun, and got in and just hit the ground running, working with the goalkeepers a lot. And
so what level is Lake Erie?
We were D2. We were D2. So again, one of them programs historically bad, and Louis come in, turned it around, and then my first year we went 18-3.
Oh wow!
We started the year 12-0. We lost on the road, and then actually our next two losses come in the conference semi-final and then opening round of nationals. But
wow,
we peaked as high as number 4 in the country that year, and we finished in the top 25. We got staff of the year, and we really hit the ground running on there. Then I went home for Christmas. I had some visa issues, and then I managed to get back into the country literally 2 weeks before COVID happened. And then that put a stop on everything for a while. Went through some coaching stuff, and midway through that summer, I'm talking to Louis about I'm thinking of starting to apply for jobs, see if someone like this, because I'll get my working visa for a year. He's like, "Well, if you want to stay here," he's like, "you're a hard worker, you've done really well, you've done this, you've done that." He's like, "You've got a position here." So I then continued with Lake Erie through till last year, 2024. But during that time, my first year of my work visa there, where there was always a running joke in the office, because pre-season was really difficult because we had a JV team too, so we was doing 4 sessions a day pretty much.
Ooh.
And we're in the office, and I'm messing about, and I'm like, I can't believe that UNC hasn't called me yet. I can't believe UNC hasn't called me. And then they had a position open, so I sent my resume to them. No chance, right? Women's team, Anson Dorrance, or the legend of UNC, and I'm like, I can't believe they ain't called me. And then I'm in the office on a Friday, and we're packing up for the weekend. I get an email from Heather O'Reilly, who's an Olympic gold medalist, who was their volunteer, and I'm like, bit strange. She's like, "Hey, this is Heather with UNC. Like, we got your resume. We're really happy with everything. We want to schedule a call with you on Monday."
Wow.
Okay. So then I'm like, I've gone from Tom sat there, and I'm like, I'm calling everyone, like I'm going to sleep listening to podcasts that Anson Dorrance has done to like get all the facts and everything. And I go on the call, and I'm the most unprepared, like naive person ever. I've got no idea what's going on. And
Yeah.
I had a great call with them, and Anson, they gave the job to Nathan Thackeray, who's a William Woods alum as well.
Oh wow.
So they gave the job to him. He was up there. He was working for NC Courage at the time, so he had pro connections. He was in the town, and he was like, Anson was like, it's a testament that you've not got much experience, but you're still a finalist for this job. He's like, you're in the final three.
Yeah.
Like, so take that. And then he had some good words, said like, you interviewed really well. Like you're gonna do something in this game. I was like, okay, great. So then I'm going through, blah, 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 doing my thing. And then at the end or the middle of a spring semester, I get offered a job at UMass.
Okay.
My boss's friend got a job at UAB from UMass, and he was like, does your coach want to go and work there? So my head coach puts the word in for me, and Fran, the head coach there, calls me, and I go through the process, all of this, and there's a real one-to-one process like we're talking now. And a week later, he calls me, and you talk about bad timing. This was horrific timing. My wife's granddad, unfortunately, had just passed away, and they offered me the job on the Friday, and I was meant to go recruiting in Florida, and I couldn't go because it was the funeral that weekend. So he offers me the job Friday and says, "Can you let me know by Monday?" And I'm like, "Well, Saturday is the the funeral home, Sunday is the wake, Monday is the burial." And I'm like, "This is horrific timing."
Yeah.
I like naively thinking selfishly, and being younger in a relationship. We'd been engaged for 2 months at this point. It was like, no, I'm in. I'm in. I want to take the job, blah, blah, blah. So I'd started the process of taking the job. And, my wife was ecstatic, all of this, but just the timing was bad. And I got really cold feet over the weekend. And I sat there and I said to Fran, I was like, can I call you Tuesday morning? Like, the funeral's Monday. He's like, yeah, no problem. And I sat there and I'm like, I can't do this. And I'm having a full-on breakdown. So I call him and I'm talking to him about it, and he's like, listen, Conor, he's like, I've taken one job in my life. He's like, that I didn't feel suited to. I didn't feel like I wasn't bought into it. And he's like, it's the job I regret most in my career. He's like, I understand what you're going through. And he's like, look, I'm never going to hold this against you. He's like, you're making a more mature decision by calling me now instead of forcing the situation. So then, I was like, I really appreciate that. And I still stay in contact with him now, and I carry on at Lake Erie, and we get to last year, and it's just the happening of it. Actually started, we used to be training at 6 a.m. in Ohio, and it's 10 degrees, and every Tuesday there was a breakfast special, so we'd go and sit for breakfast, and it was always like, who's going to be the longest at Lake Erie, who's going to finally get out.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Florida State's got an opening. So I'm talking to Louis about it with coffee at breakfast. Oh, I think I'm gonna throw in for Florida State. And at the time, I'd said to my wife, I'm like, this time next year, I wanna try and get out here. As we talk now, would have been when I was trying to leave Lake Erie. And she's like, well, why don't you apply for these jobs now? I was like, because are we realistically, we've just got a house, we're gonna move. She was like, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, kind of thing. I was like, yeah, but I've already turned down a job. I was like, after accepting it, I was like, so if I get offered a job now, I can't turn it down. My reputation now is on the line. So Louis sat there and he's like, oh, you should talk to Bex. Her friend works at LSU and they've got an opening. Okay. So then I never really thought of anything of it. I was like, I'm not too bothered. And then she brought it up in the office one day. I was like, sure, let him know. I'll send my stuff down to him, let him know. And she was like, yeah, I'll tell him. And then nothing come of it. I'd sent it, and probably 10 days later, I was driving to Columbus with my wife, and nobody will ever believe it because it's one of them ones where it's so stupid, but
yeah,
I'd never really think of LSU right at that time. I don't think of the colors. I don't think any of that. And I'm pulling onto the highway just outside of Cleveland, and there was a big 18-wheeler that was bright yellow with a purple trailer. And I'm like, that's an odd color. That's LSU's colors. And an hour into that journey, the head coach here texts me, hey, this is Sean from LSU. Do you have time this weekend for a call? So then I get on a call with her, and we start the process and start going through all of that. Then I speak to the associate the next day, Then it's like, can you film a training session? Yeah, no problem. So I film a training session. They have me call and talk about that. Then they're like, okay, this is the goalkeeper we're recruiting. This is who we just graduated. Watch their stuff. Tell us, what you think their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, what you're going to work on, like do an evaluation on them. So I went through all of that. And they were like, it's a high-speed environment in the SEC. Like, it might be one place today and another place tomorrow. There's like, it's Monday. It's like, can you be here on Wednesday to be on campus for an interview? So yeah, no problem. Of course, yeah, that's fine. And then I was like, can I bring my wife? Like, this is as much as a decision for her as it is for me. So they're like, yeah, of course. So they come down and they were super welcoming. Like the hospitality of the South, obviously everybody knows is really high, but you're talking a staff of people all from Britain that all migrated to the South, and everyone was so welcoming. And I remember sitting here and we were in what we call our experience room over at football, and it's like a 270-degree screen in the room, and you're watching this big hype up video, and I'm sat there through it sweating in suit and tie, and I'm like, I can't, like, if I get offered this, I can't not be a part of it. Like, this is insane. And
they just absolutely got you with the hype video, man. They got you with the hype video.
And they all laughed. They're like, that's what got you. And I'm like, I mean, that's not what got me, but that was like the defining moment as I sat there and see what the experience is. And like, we're going through stuff, and I wake up the Friday morning and we're meant to be flying out that afternoon. So we're going to go meet with HR to talk some stuff and then fly out. My wife looks at me, she goes, our flight's been cancelled. It's like, what? So I'm calling them and I'm like, I don't know what we're meant to do. Like, our flight's been cancelled, and Amanda we'd paid her own way down here. So they ended up booking both of our flights for the next day. I changed our rental car to New Orleans and all that. So we actually got the opportunity to sit down, go for lunch, sit down with them, and they offered me the job at lunch. And it was like, okay, don't jump at the bit. And I'm like, don't jump. So I'm sitting there having to try and be serious without being ecstatic.
Yeah.
Like,
play it cool.
Yeah, and I'm like, obviously me and my wife's got I'm really thankful. Me and my wife's got to have a big discussion about this stuff. Like, this is a big move kind of thing. But I was like, give us some of the details. They're like, well, we're not in an immediate rush. It's the end of spring season. Because I would like you to start at the beginning of May. It doesn't need to be like May 1st. So I'd like bargained it that I could start like May 7th, because we had like going away party was throwing a surprise 50th party for a friend of ours. So it's like, we just had some stuff. We would have had time. There's like, but we need to know, by Monday, your decision. So, okay. And, going back to face her parents on that was a heartbreaker. They picked us up from the airport, and, the signs were there as we turn up, and I'm wearing an LSU baseball shirt and she's wearing an LSU shirt as well. And it's like, we're sat there and we're having a nice dinner and that chatting, and they're like, oh, so it wasn't, how was it? It was like, so did they give you the job? We're like, yeah. Okay. And then nobody spoke legitimately.
Oh, were they just sad you guys were leaving? Like,
yeah, it was one of them where we sat there. I was like, yeah, Dad didn't speak to me for like 3 days. And then he finally sent me a text, and he was like,
congrats.
Really? Yeah. Like, sent a really nice text and all of this. And I understand it. Like, his daughter who he's had around, like, this is the guy that said when we bought a house was like, oh, I wish it was a bit closer, and we were 6 miles down the road.
Gotcha.
And now it's like, well, now we're going to move 1,000 miles away kind of thing. And it's like, I got it, and, I resonate with it. And I never really got cold feet on the feeling of this. It was like, there was just a sense of excitement for everyone. Her family understood. They were like, we knew this was going to happen. We just didn't think it was going to happen this soon. Yeah. But they've come really well on it. And, Amanda moved here at Christmas. I moved in May, and we were apart for 7 months. She come probably monthly. We had our honeymoon in the middle. So I was really thankful, the staff here let us go on our honeymoon and miss a big portion of the summer doing camps and stuff. So went through the season, and then when Amanda moved down, obviously it was sad for them again. But, we look at it, they're coming down for July 4th, and, we've had a really good experience, and Amanda's got a great job down here, and she was able to stay within her company. It was all smooth, and now, she was having to commute a bit, but now she's just picked up a building down the road from us in Baton Rouge. So we're in a really good spot, and kind of that's got us to here. I guess we can say, to segue into what you said about Cleveland SC. This comes into it. I don't know how I forgot about it, but
yeah, I've just been letting you go, man. You've been telling me your whole story. I'm like, hey, man, he's just going. No,
yeah.
So even like after, you've gone from, playing for all the academies over in England, and you named off a ton of them, playing for Norwich, Nottingham Forest, all these different academies there. And then you came to America and you went to William Woods University, of all places to go to, in Fulton, Missouri. And then, now you're in this coaching you're in the coaching stratosphere, and you're starting to point out a lot of things that I think coaches are going to realize, is that there is tons of movement in coaching when it comes to, especially assistant coaches. There's tons of movement, whether you're, an assistant coach at Lake Erie, and then you're over here, now you're at LSU. So there's tons of movement up the levels for sure. So one of the big things that, we could talk a little bit about how your playing career was going there, or I could talk a little bit about how you're doing it with LSU. You can kind of talk about Cleveland SC for a little bit, because that was after. So were you at Lake Erie while you were playing for them?
Yeah, so they're MPSL, it's just summer league. And a friend of ours, he was the assistant at Notre Dame College at the time, and then he went to become the head coach at Mercyhurst. He was the head coach at Cleveland SC. So then he lived with our assistant at Lake Erie, Lewis, in the same house. And when Ryan left NDC, Lewis took the job at NDC, and Lewis became the head coach of Cleveland SC as well. And it was COVID, so we had our COVID season, which was, we played 3 games in 7 days, and we had 2 weeks of training. Mm-hmm. And we went away to Detroit City on the last game, and there was meant to be a squad of like 19 of us, 3-hour drive to Detroit, and everybody dropped out at the last second. So we went with a squad of 12, and unfortunately in that 12 it was 2 goalkeepers. So everybody played. I split the half, and somebody had cramps. So Lewis, who he played, he was an All-American. He put a kit on, and he's the manager, subbing himself on. So we went that, and he stood in the locker room after the game, and he was like, "Look, I respect everyone for being here." He's like, "All of you that come here today, you guaranteed a spot next year. If you wish to come and play for us, you'll play." So I had to have a conversation with him, and I'm like, "Lewis, like, there's a couple of our lads that from Lake Erie that are All-American quality. It's like, they're staying around this summer. Like, you're gonna have to choose. Like, do you want them or do you want me?" And I respect Lewis for it. He's like, "No, you're my mate." He's like, "I promised you it last year." He's like, "You're playing." He's like, "They'll have to go somewhere else." Is that fair enough, man? And I was a loyalist to it. And the owner, Sam Siebert, is a good friend of mine. Like, he was quality, and I just built a really good foundation with that team. And we just had a great year. We won our conference. We won our region. We went to the national Final Four. We were ranked number 1 most of the season in the country. And, we was a team that the average age of teams we were playing were college kids, 21, 22. Our average age, I was one of the babies, and I was 25. Like, we legitimately was an older team, and we didn't quite have the legs that other teams did, but we just had good players.
Yeah.
So we played that, and, I was very fortunate to be selected in, the national 11. I won the Golden Glove. So I never got the opportunity to be an All-American in college, but I can at least say I'd done something like it after. Right?
Yeah.
So, I had that, and then we qualified for the Open Cup. We played against Chicago United, USL 2 team on a all jokes aside, on a cold, windy night in Cleveland. It was like 38 degrees and sideways rain, and we won 2-1 in overtime. And them games where you had it against Lindenwood Belleville, where it's just like the ball's just peppered. The ball's just attracted to your body. Like, I managed to save almost everything. And we won that, and then it meant like quick turnaround. Next week we're having to drive 9-10 hours up to Madison, Wisconsin to play Forward Madison on again a cold Tuesday night. It was 35 degrees and sideways rain, and it was like we lost 3-0. And then Lewis got a job at IUPUI, D1 school in Indianapolis. And so he left. Then I'm offered the job at Cleveland SC. And I'm like, no, I've just got back playing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to give this up now. And Sam's like, fair enough. He's like,
I'm in my prime.
Right. I'm thinking like during that time, I've just become like, this was my last shot of like trying to get something somewhere. And,
yeah,
you know, I'm getting my name out there, and we go and play, and the new coach come in, and I didn't like him. We butted heads, and
yeah,
you know, I still played. Didn't quite eclipse what we did the year before, but we went to our regional final. I made, you know, all Midwest region team. Didn't get, you know, national player again, but it's whatever.
yeah.
And I looked at it, and I had a big fallout with the coaching staff, and it's one of them ones I'll go on my shield. I'm putting it on them.
Yeah.
It sounds really bad, right? But it was one of them ones where like I was offering myself and offering my assistance, and it never come about. And I can see the avenue that they were thinking of how I spoke and did that. But I was a competitor. Like,
yeah.
I hated losing. And, you know, when we played my first year with them, we didn't lose in conference. We didn't lose. We went to the hardest places and we grafted out wins. Like, I think we drew one game the whole year. We won everything else. Oh, no, we drew two. We drew literally the first and last game. Everything else we won in between.
Yeah.
So then I go onto a team now, and I'm like, the only game I lost last year was in a national semi-final. I was like, and we've lost 3 games now in the first like 5. And I'm like, I'm starting to blow up, and it bothers me. And I'm like, I'm trying to go to work as a work professional, and I'm sat there like thinking about the games, and I'm like, it's driving me insane. I'm stressing myself, like, and I just start blowing up. And I'm talking to the guy, and I'm like, we need to talk about stuff, blah blah blah. Then eventually, like, I get through the season, and I'm telling Sam, and I'm like, Sam, listen, like, I don't want to be that guy, but I don't know if I'm going to play anymore. I was like, whilst there's this coaching staff there, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And then I was doing some private training. And I hurt my arm a bit, and it was weird, like what I had. And I didn't want to go to a hospital and sort it, medical bills, you know, all of that stuff. So I'm trying to like tell the guys, look, I'm done. I'm not playing no more. You know, Open Cup's coming up. I'm not going to be there. And then they text me randomly after ignoring me for like 2 months. One morning, it was like, oh, just so you know, we still want you to be our starting goalkeeper, blah, 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 all of this. And I'm like, thanks, but I've been trying to talk to you for 2 months, and now you just got this. I've been trying to tell you that I've been injured and I'm not playing, and like trying to help you, you know, get another goalkeeper and get this, and you've been ignoring me. And we did a Zoom call with the coaching staff and the owner, and it got a little bit hostile, and, you know, some of that was from me, but like, I was always happy to speak my mind, right? Everybody, you know, in the big picture, people talk about Roy Keane when he had the spat with the Island team, but like on a much smaller amateur scale to that's how I felt. I was like, there was a standard that I've had throughout my life, and there's a standard that I uphold. And if that standard wasn't being met, I didn't like pulling it down. I wanted to pull people with me. And, you know, if the coach can't get on board with that, I become really not fragile, but frustrated from it. So at that time, like, we went through that, and then, you know, a year went past, and the coach then left. And then last summer, or last April, just before I was offered the job at LSU, Sam calls me. He's like, you know, there's a position for you. But I was coaching club at the time, and I needed it from a financial standpoint. And I was like, it's going to be really hard because I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And with my other job, and I've got to go to this tournament. So we was going to actually, me and another guy was actually going to coach it, and I was going to have the title because it looks good, right? Yeah. Then literally within that week, LSU then calls me, and they're like, you know, you want a job here. So I've gone from playing for Cleveland SC almost out of pity, like COVID, come and get some exercise. Being a national player to being offered to be the coach there. And, you know, I always felt bad for Sam because it's a great little club, and he's a great guy, and he puts his heart and soul into it. So now we're here.
So now you're at LSU. The playing career is officially put on hiatus unless you find something down there, I guess. But
I'm playing over 30 league. I played in goal last night. I usually play
Nice.
centre back now. I try to tell people I'm done in goal, but
Yeah, I can't. Anytime I still do like indoor leagues and things like that. And anytime I play goalie, it just fucking hurts, man. The next day, I'm just like, I'm dying. Like my lower back, my shins are cut up. It just is. It's not as fun when you're older. It hurts so much more, especially whenever you're playing indoor and you're having so much action at you. So I'm not like young like I used to be. You know, I'm a little bit rounder, I guess, too. So that doesn't help. But now you're at LSU, you know. So one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about is like you're an assistant coach at an SEC school. What are the things that your job entails? Like, because obviously it's not just training, you know, you're calling recruits and things like that. So what does a normal day look like as an assistant coach for a big D1 school like this? And like, what are some of the things you have to do as an assistant coach to help the head coach?
yeah, I think week to week basis it will change. So right now we've just gone through June 15th, which is obviously when we can contact rising juniors. I've been on my phone Sunday I started phone calls at 9:45, and I got off my last phone call at 9:15, and there was no real break in between any of them. I think it was like 17 phone calls that day, and then there was more yesterday. Then we got a meeting talking about them, and then more today, more tomorrow, more Thursday. Like recruitment is tough because, you know, on the girls' side there's almost double the amount of programs, and a lot of the times when you're going after a kid, I'm like, I'm calling you from LSU, Bridger. We want you to come here. Who else are you talking to? And then you rattle off like, I've got 25 other phone calls. It's like a lot of us are all fighting for the same kids. But, you know, that's where we are right now. I fly out to California on Saturday. There'll be the Girls Academy playoffs, and then I'll stay for the ECNL playoffs. So, like, my role this semester, I've done a lot of domestic recruiting. So I've been Virginia, Texas, Florida, North Carolina. Where else have we hit? We'll be California. We've been to Colorado. Like, I was just in St. Louis. Like, we've been bouncing around everywhere. So I'm out on the road a lot for that stuff. During the season, you know, we're obviously not going to be on the road as much. We might be bringing recruits to campus. When they're on campus, I'm, you know, classic chatterbox. I do a lot of the tours, take them around campus, through the facility, show this, show that. You know, that's going to be the big thing. We train in the morning, you know, individual meetings with players, team film. You know, when we're on the road for games, it's not like Woods where you drive out, game, drive back. Or overnight. Like, the shortest trips we do is 2 days. Like if we get to charter a flight out to somewhere, we'll fly Wednesday, play Thursday, come back Thursday night. But for the most part, we're flying Wednesday, coming back Friday.
So how do the kids do their school? Like I guess that's one of the big things I always ask with like football players too, is like, how do these kids, are they doing it while they're on their trips? Are they doing online? Do you have tutors? Like how does that work for them for their academics?
Yeah, we have a lot of it. We have really good tutoring program, you know, like student athlete tutoring. And, you know, one of the positives from COVID was they figured out that you can tutor on Zoom and get almost the same results. So when we're on campus, there's an expectation, you know, obviously uphold grades, all your class stuff, but you should be meeting with tutors as well. Well, if you've got them tutoring appointments, and we're in Knoxville, Tennessee, and, you know, you're not back to the hotel till 10 p.m., the tutors they'll work with you 24/7 as long as it's scheduled. Wow. So they'll get back at 10, and then you can do tutoring then. So we'll do a bit of class time, 10 till 12 on a game day or something if we're on the road. Like, we make sure the girls are staying on top of it. But, you know, comparatively to guys, girls are usually on top of their stuff a bit more.
Yes.
Guys, you had to baby them through doing homework and study hall, but girls are a lot more, you know, they see the bigger picture, and it's a breath of fresh air because you've not got to be on top of all of them. The best guys are the ones where you're like, I've not got to be on top of you, like you're good in school. The majority of them, you're like, we've got to keep it 2.0 so you're eligible, kind of thing. Like, come on. The girls, it's, you know, they're self-motivated. They know what they're here for.
I think a lot of times and it's the same way in high school. You know, when I was coaching the boys, a lot of there's like 4 or 5 guys I just had to like make sure I kept tabs on for their grades. But on the girls' season, I don't have to worry about any of that. The girls they get their work done, they get their homework stuff, they balance things a lot easier. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's more like the girls just they like you kind of said they see the bigger picture. They understand that soccer's not gonna be forever, and what they do after this is what's going to be more important. And I think that women or girls or whatever, they just tend to focus on that a little bit more, whereas the boys they focus more on the play. They like the fun stuff first, and they'll like, oh, I'll get the degree later on or whatever. So so you as one of the assistant coaches, are you mainly working with the goalies, or do you kind of do all things?
Yeah, we have a big shared role, but I'm very lucky that I'm doing the goalies and I've got a very direct approach with them. So I'm going to have my time, and the staff here are really good with it. Our associate head coach used to do the goalkeepers. He was a goalkeeper as well, and it's like there's an appreciation that having a goalkeeper coach and that dedicated training time is really important. So they're really respectful for my time and vice versa. So when they're ready, I'm ready, and we get them across. And then when they're with the team, I'm not really going to be the one at any point stopping the session being like X's and O's. That's hierarchy of needs. Our head coach is the big voice there, and an associate. They've both been here for 5-6 years. So we understand that, and we understand our role on that part. But we might be going into the session, but when you join the team, Conor, like you're going to be during breaks, taking care of the back line, talking through things like coaching the back line, and we'll coach a lot by units as well as big picture. So most of the time I'm going to be down in the goal, on the side of the goal, talking with the goalies, talking with the back line. So individual coaching points in the right moments, is unlimited to anyone. We can talk to them, and then me and the other assistant, when it comes to individual work and getting extra reps, or we've traveled and the red shirts or people that aren't traveling are going to be at home, is making sure that when we get back the next morning, we come in and we put a session on for them, kind of thing, and making sure that people are still staying ticked over. So we have a really important role, however you want to look at it. It's just in a different role to, we're not the voice. Like we have a voice, which we all respect a lot. Because you'll have some staffs where the assistants do not get a single bit of voice. Like you're there to make up the staff and do some bits behind the scenes, but on the field you're a nobody, kind of thing. But for us, our opinion's all valued.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a healthy way to do it, because I hear about that all the time obviously I'm more at the high school level, but you see plenty of times where an assistant coach doesn't get to voice anything, and then at some point they just become disingenuous and they don't care what happens because it's not their problem, right? They just blame it all on the head coach. So having a good, healthy relationship with all the assistants and giving them specific times to like put their opinion out there, or also just making sure that they feel like they're a part of the actual whole project and not just one little specific piece, helps make a good relationship. Was that something that you had at other places, or is that just kind of more with LSU?
Yeah, I think it was unique at Lake Erie because Louis was a really good educator, the head coach. Now he appreciated, because when you get to the D2 level, now you're chopping down how many goalkeeper coaches there are. So when we was with the first team, like my role really, like obviously he was head of the program. With the first team, I was assistant goalkeeper coach, but with our reserve team, I was the lead, like head coach for that. So
nice.
I got a good balance of, I would be with the keepers, but then when they would join with the team, if we were splitting like attack and defense kind of thing, I would take one half, he would take the other. So I got a lot of hands-on coaching there. But then when the reserves would come out, for the most part, he gave us the opportunity to learn as coaches. So there was three of us, me, a grad assistant, and then like a volunteer assistant. The volunteer was a goalkeeper as well. So if me or the grad was doing field work, he would take the keepers for however long it may be. If he was running the session, I would take the keepers. But for the most part, like through a week, if we had 5 training sessions, we would do maybe like 3-2-1, or it'd be like 6 in it. It'd be like 3-1-1, or it'd be like 2-2-1, and we would kind of take turns of who was leading the session and getting the experience in there. but kind of I become the oversight, and a lot of the times Louis was able, like, trusted enough that he could go back to the office and deal with meetings or deal with a recruit or something, and just kind of leave us at training to do what we needed to do, and that gave us like a really good voice on there. And I was at every game for the reserves, so I think I went through my last season with Lake Erie and did something like 39 games in a college season. So
Yeah.
I was burnt from that. I was spent, but
yeah. So obviously, like LSU with the roster rules that are coming down from NCAA, you guys wouldn't be able to have a JV team. Or it's like, how big is your roster for the women's team?
So we're fortunate. Last year we was at 29.
Okay.
So getting to 28 was no problem. We didn't have to cut a single soul. We're not going to have to cut a soul. You know, there's programs I know that carried heavy, and they got to have some tough conversations.
Yeah.
But yeah, the days of like, it wasn't too popular on our side anyway, or on the women's side of JV. D2 side is really big because now you're getting a lot of enrollment-driven schools. So at Lake Erie, we were enrollment-driven, so we carried 70 guys. So
Jeez.
you know, that's how that works. But yeah, here, you know, you've got nice close knit. Whereas last year at 29 with 4 goalkeepers, so it's you're pretty close to like what you would carry on a professional roster anyway. So
yeah, 28. When I heard about that, I kind of worried for like some of maybe the D3 schools and things like that. Or yeah, like you said, like an enrollment-driven school, that they need that extra enrollment to keep the doors open and things like that. So when I heard that NCAA was changing that rule to 28 players, I kind of worried about some of these smaller schools that are going to struggle with that.
Yeah, I believe that's only across D1 though.
Is it? Okay, I didn't know if it was all of NCAA. I didn't know if D2s or D3s were also affiliated with that.
Do that because it come across from, you know, like a class action lawsuit and revenue sharing, all of this.
Yeah.
It's you know, I don't want to talk about it because we don't know. No one knows anything. Every time we go to an event, we hear something new and we have something thrown out the window and something new put in. And all we know, well, we don't even know if we have to be at 28 this year. Like, it's forever changing. So we just kind of, you have to roll with the punches.
So I think the idea also with when you drop it down to 28 players for a Division I team, you're going to get, like you said, like there's a lot of schools that had to drop a lot of girls, like where they're losing their scholarships. What that's either going to do is those girls are now either going to go to a different Division I program, maybe a lower one, and help them up, or they may drop down to D2 or D3 and help that level grow. So I kind of see a little bit of what the NCAA is kind of pushing with that, is like they're maybe trying to level up the playing field a little bit, just because there are, again, you had some teams that they carried 70 people or something like that, that's just crazy to me because you only have 11 on the field. So having that many kids, it just blows my mind. But I get it when it comes to enrollment and things like that. Yeah. So obviously, like now that you've been in the college system, you played in AIA, you played in PSL, you coached at the Division II level, and now you're coaching at the Division I level. Coming from Europe, you know, coming from England and the system that you went through there, what is something that you, and it doesn't need to be a huge giant thing, but what's something little that you think that college soccer could maybe change to potentially make it a little bit more competitive for maybe pushing people into the professional game, or maybe even making it more enticing for kids coming over?
Do you know, honestly, I don't think there's too much that can be changed, because I think the avenue into, you know, at least a professional game in America is, for me, it's still the best one. I think on the flip side, the thing that will ruin college soccer is professional soccer. I would kind of hope one day that the NCAA change it to be like basketball, where you can't go from high school to professional, that you've got to come through the NCAA. Because there's, and I was having this discussion last night, was there's a lack of education from professional or for kids about the professional game here. You know, in the UK, when I was 16, we probably in a season would have 10, 15 meetings, basically to say like, maybe one of you in this room will have a career playing football. But like, you see kids here, there, and everywhere, like, oh, a 14-year-old made their professional debut in the NWSL or in the MLS, and it's like, you just ruined all your chances of going to college, because now you've lost out on amateurism and stuff like that. So now you can't do that. You're like 10 years down the line, you're only just out like graduating college age kind of thing. And you know, if you have a 10-year career, that's great, but you're only 24, and if you ain't got a career after that, then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're still a young adult trying to make a life for yourself. Like I'm a big, and you couldn't convince me this 10 years ago, but I'm big on like, come to college and get your education, because I'm a realist, right? I've lived it, I've seen it, and it's like, you know, the especially on the women's side, it is the financial aspect. It's not as dominant as the guy's side. So you're not going in and making 4 or 5 million a year on the women's side. Like, you're going in and you're making a normal working wage, but you're not gonna. Your body can't play till you're 60. So even if you have a big illustrious career and you retire at 38 years old as a club international legend, you still probably got to do something. Like, if you can't get into broadcasting or something, you're gonna have to find.
Yeah, you gotta find work. You gotta find a job.
And I think people always forget about, like, and it's really bad or hard to say on the women's side, but, you know, knee injuries are a big thing. And it's like, that could end your career at any point. And obviously that can happen for anyone. That could happen for me in a rec game. Right? But, you know, to have something to fall back on it is really important. And you know, the college, like, I look at how we're set up, and we've got as good a facilities as anywhere that I played in the UK, or well, that I actually played at. We got better than everywhere I played at. In terms of going to play against someone, we're on level par with you know, Chelsea, with Tottenham. Like, our fields are better. You know, we've got the same technology, the same data, the resources that we have throughout the campus. You know, we get a lot of cross correlation with football and their staff and other staff. It's like we're more professional set up than a lot of professional teams. And sometimes it's a blessing and a curse, because you get 4 years of a great time here, but then, you know, you then go into the pros and you have to drop your standard. And, you know, they talk about it all the time in football. Is like, when they graduate college and they go to the NFL, it's a shock that the NFL is not as good as college in terms of the resources and the facilities. So it's like, it's having that as well, and the education portion of preparing people to be pro. I think that's probably my biggest thing. And, you know, that probably comes from us as coaching staffs as well, is we've got to be, Bridger, we've got to prepare you to be a pro, not only as a player, but what professional life entails. So like, having context of professional environments, I think is really important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of going to college. It's like, you're there to play a sport, but you're also there to get an education and set yourself up for the future if the sports doesn't work out for you. So, I mean, this has been absolutely amazing, Conor. Thank you so much for bringing in and coming in and telling us your whole story and how you're doing at LSU. So, a couple of things, like, is there anything you want to plug? Is there any way for someone to get in contact with you if they ever want to talk with you? Is there anything you want to plug for us?
Yeah, plug, I guess, my Instagram, right? If anybody wants to get in contact with me, hit the Instagram line. Conor, CONOR _Cable 1. That's probably the best pipeline to get a hold of me. So you're not just texting me off a random number. And then I guess the big thing, right, if you got to reach out to here, is, you know, come to our games, come support. We don't have tickets for LSU soccer. It's walk in, come and enjoy. Nice. You know, come and see what we've got to offer. You know, if you're listening and you come into a game, let me know. And like that's that. And obviously, Bridge, if you're ever in the area for some reason, let us know. You know.
Yeah, if I'm ever done in Louisiana, I'll definitely have to hit you up.
Yeah, it's a place you got to come and see, regardless. Like, you know, if you're a football fan, you come and see Tiger Stadium and what LSU offers, and it's mind blowing. Really, it's mind blowing. And
even as a Notre Dame fan, and I hate that they took Brian Kelly, but I think in the end, you know, I didn't mind him at Notre Dame. A lot of people don't like him, but I think he's going to do a good job down there, because, again, the resources that LSU has and the SEC has in general as a conference is just absolutely amazing. But again, Conor, man, thank you so much for doing this. This was a lot of fun, and it was good catching up with you.
Of course, yeah, sounds good. And I'll speak to you here soon, okay?
All right. I'll see you, man.
See ya. Bye.